there, Dr. Fuchsman was busy with a customer when Anna arrived in the street outside his shop.
She could see him through the big plate glass windows, talking to a man in a suit, and though he looked directly out at her, he did not seem to see her.
It was cold there in the street.
Though she was in many ways accustomed to comporting. The man was tall and exceedingly thin. His suit, brown wool and in 3 pieces, must have been made specifically for him. It was difficult to imagine any other man with such measurements, and his clothes fit him closer than a glove. He carried an old physician's bag, the brown leather worn a bit lighter than the color of his dark suit. It had brass fittings, and on the side of the bag was the monogram SWG in a faded red that must have originally been the color of his dark necktie. A tall black umbrella rode between the 2 handles of the bag, stacked on its top, despite the clearness of the thigh.
The thin man stopped when he noticed Anna looking at him, and he looked back down at her from a terrible height through his round, gold-rimmed spectacles. There was an unlit cigarette in his mouth, which he took between his long, spindly fingers and removed, breathing in to speak. At precisely that moment, the bell rang a young German soldier out of Herr Dr. Fuchsman's shop and into the street. The thin man turned his head sharply to the young soldier and addressed him in bright, crisp, supremely lettered German, asking him if this was the famous doctor's establishment that everyone seemed to like so much. Anna found that she had been holding her breath.
The tall man and the stranger spoke briefly, congenially, the soldier vouching for the quality and the eagerness of the service within.
After all, the physician was German, and you could hardly expect one of these Polish doctors to rival him. After an appropriate pause, the thin man nodded his thanks to the soldier and turned his eyes toward the shop. He had him. Right. He frowned and switched to Polish. For whom are you waiting? Where his German had been bright and crisp, his Polish was just as round and swift. He was the first person Anna had heard since her father who had an equal command of more than one language. She wanted to answer him, wanted to talk, but she didn't know what she could tell him. It occurred to her to say that she was waiting for her father, but, in point of fact, she was not so sure of the truth of this anymore, and if one thing was clear about this tall stranger, it was that he was not someone to whom one offered a lie.